Hey, I'm Roxie with Roxie's Broadway Breakdown. Welcome back to my channel where it's always about musical theater. So if you're into that, don't forget to click and subscribe. And today I want to talk about best universities for vocal performing and getting a degree in vocals. I already did a video on like best universities for musical theater, and I'll link that video below. But today, let me get to a few ideas first that you want to consider when looking at universities. First of all, you don't have to get a degree to be in performing and to be in musical theater. But if you are considering a program, here's some things you might want to think about. First, look at the requirements for their audition packet. Okay, follow the directions to a T, because if you go off script, so to speak, no pun intended, but if you don't follow the directions, they're going to consider that and go, is this really the right student for us who can't even follow the directions for our auditions? So really follow the directions to the letter. You might want to also think about how many performing opportunities they have for their students, because some like only want the juniors and seniors to perform, and they kind of make the freshmen and sophomores wait their turn. And then others are like, yeah, anybody in the school can audition for anything at any time. All the musicals are open, all the plays are open to audition, just open school audition. So consider that. You might want to see if there's a showcase before graduation where all your hard work is paid off, and they invite different directors and producers and agents to come watch you perform, and then you have sort of a jump off point and an opening to network before you graduate. So consider that. You want to see how many grads from that school are actually working in the industry currently. I know playbill.com always puts out a list of people on Broadway that are where they graduated from. So, you know, you might want to consider looking at something like that. And then also look at the alumni from that school, and do they still network with the school? Do they come back and give master classes? Do they help network? Do they help the students from that school? It's just something to consider. So, you know, think about those kinds of questions when considering a school. All right, so starting off with the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory. They are one of the oldest musical theater programs in the U.S., and their vocal program consists of private lessons. A lot of these give private lessons in their vocal departments, and they really do hone in on musical theater training and techniques. They do multiple musical theater productions in a year, everything from contemporary ones, or I should say the sort of the golden oldies, to the contemporary ones. And they also do 6 classic operas. So they do offer classic, you know, classical operatic training at the school, but I'm just focusing on schools that do musical theater training, because there's schools that focus more on operatic training, like Juilliard. Juilliard is one of the top rated schools in the country for performing arts, but I'm focusing on ones that go a little heavier towards musical theater training. All right, University of Michigan. They not only focus on vocals, but also like music theory and the history of vocals, or I should say that like the history of like theory and the history of vocal practice, things like that. But they do 4 main stage shows a year, and also they do summer stock auditions on campus, which I really like, because summer stock is a great place for young performers to get experience. If you're not familiar with how summer stock works, it's you audition, and summer stock is usually held like in resort areas, and you go and you stay there for the summer, and they hire one company to perform for the entire summer, and usually stay there on the grounds like in a dorm like situation, and they pick a season of like 6 shows or whatever, and you perform one show at night and you rehearse during the day for the next show. So all it is just a continuation of performing and rehearsing for the entire summer. So it's a great way to gain experience for a performer. All right, Carnegie Mellon, another top-rated school. And in the other video, I talked all about Carnegie Mellon and different programs it offers. But for vocalists, sometimes you may not want to be just a total musical theater performer. You say, I'm a vocalist. That's my strength. And so they focus a lot on vocals, speech, more stage movement, not full dancing. They also pair with the civic light opera. So again, if you think of yourself more in that classic lane, then this might be a school to consider. Ithaca, New York. Again, they do private lessons and private coaching, but Ithaca does believe in like a well-rounded performer, like the triple threat of acting, singing, dancing, and they do 2 musicals a year plus 1 opera. But they really do believe in that full, well-rounded musical theater performer. So if you're looking for something like that, you might want to consider Ithaca in Ithaca, New York. Marymount Manhattan College, that's a mouthful, in New York. They train in all sorts of vocal genres like pop, rock, opera, musical theater, and they do multiple musicals per year. So you might want to look at them. They also offer electives in songwriting too. So if you say you have some talent in songwritings, you don't want to just be a vocalist, you want to write your own songs, might want to look at that. Boston Conservatory in Boston. The first couple of years, they really, really focus on the musical theater, vocal coaching, and ear training. Ear training is important because it's really good to get that pitch, that tonation, that harmony, for harmony especially. So that's important. The school mounts 12 to 14 studio shows. They do freshman review, they do a drag show, they do musical theater vocal recitals, and they do performing with the New York Philharmonic. So lots of opportunities to perform at the Boston Conservatory. All right, moving on to Belmont Theater in Nashville. One is located in Nashville, which is like a music mecca. And there's all sorts of places in Nashville to start getting your performing chops going. They also focus on all kinds of genres of music, obviously, because it is a music mecca. So pop, rock, opera, country, of course. But I also like this university. I want to name it because Dolly Parton is getting ready to do a new musical based on her life story, the Dolly Parton musical. And she paired with them this last year with their theater department, and she got them involved in her musical. She got the students involved in marketing for it, casting her musical. She got the students to be assistant stage managers and work with the producers. So, Belmont might become one of these new schools where it gets more and more involved in bigger theater productions. So, something to keep in mind. And then lastly, I wanted to mention the Baldwin Wallace University in Ohio. It trains in like the golden oldies of theater and jazz, pop, rock. I mean, all of these are going to train you in the classic styles. It's not like anyone is going to short shrift you on that. They do 3 musicals a year, but they also partner with the Great Lakes Theater, which is a professional production company, and they give you an opportunity to graduate with your equity card, which is really, really something. Or at the very least, they put points towards your membership candidate program for your equity card. Having an equity card is really important if you're going to work in professional theater, because some people never get their equity card. Some people, it takes them decades to get their equity card. And that's just really important if you really are serious about working in professional theater, belonging to, the Actors Equity and belonging to the union and all the perks that comes with. So that is kind of, a feather in Baldwin Wallace's cap to help you do that. There might be other schools that do that. I don't know, but that one did stand out to me looking at that. So there are just some of the top schools. There are others. I just, didn't have time to put everyone on the list, but there are some of the top schools. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget to click and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next.